Hi, good evening, everyone. It's Mayor Elizabeth Roy here, and I'd like to thank you all for joining tonight on my first FaceTime Live. I'm here with you from Whitby Town Hall, and tonight I am joined with Chief Peter Marrera, Inspector Jill Locke from our Central West Division, and our Director of Strategic Initiatives, Sarah Klein, and I'm grateful for their presence tonight on this FaceTime Live. I just want to start out with talking about the format for the evening, and we're going to start with a brief presentation from Director Klein, and she will share just a little update on what's happening with the hospital campaign. And then we're going to turn it over to Chief Marrera, and he will share a presentation on some local initiatives, talk about issues and some additional information. And as this is going along, you are more than welcome to submit questions through the chat function, and we will collect these questions following the presentations, and we will do our best to work through them. But we are going to attempt to address as many questions and a variety of questions to enable to the residents to have a good understanding of what's happening here in the community. So now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Director Sarah Klein.
Thank you very much, Mayor Roy. As mentioned, my name is Sarah Klein, and it's my pleasure to be here this evening to give an update on Whitby's hospital campaign. As you may be aware, Whitby launched a hospital campaign a few weeks ago on February the 7th. And the reason for this campaign is about just over 2 years ago, Lakeridge Health began the process for selecting a site for a new hospital in Durham Region. We know that Durham Region needs more healthcare services and specifically a hospital. They did a very robust 2-stage process with an independent expert panel to be able to select the site. In January 2022, they reviewed all the applications and made the decision that Whitby's site was the preferred site for the new Durham Hospital. However, since that time, so over 2 years ago, we are still waiting on 2 pieces to be able to move forward with Lakeridge Health on beginning that new hospital. Those 2 pieces are a planning grant from the province to Lakeridge Health, a $3 million planning grant, and also the land disposition that currently is owned by the Ministry of Transportation to move that land to the town of Whitby and ultimately to Lakeridge Health. So those are the steps that we are waiting on, and that is where we are at right now. We can just move to the next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about where the site is and why it is so important, the location and why this site was selected. So as you can see on the map here, the green dot is the location that has been selected for the Whitby site for the Durham Region Hospital. It is right at the corner of Lakeridge Road and Winchester Road, and it is also very close to 412 and 407. So when seconds matter, this is the ideal site for quick access across the entire region. The other thing that this map shows is the red circles. The red circles are the existing acute care or emergency service hospitals. And as you can see, there is a gap in our current services for access to emergency care. So the location of that green dot identifies and addresses that current gap, but it also addresses the additional growth. We know that Durham Region is going to grow significantly over the next few decades. And you can see in those orange shaded sections where the main areas of growth will be. So this location not only addresses the current gaps in services, but it also addresses the future growth that we are going to see across our region. So this is the ideal site, and this is why it was selected, but we really need to move forward. We know that it takes about 10 years to construct a hospital, and we know that we need these services now, so we really can't wait, and we do need to move forward. So it's for that reason that Whitby launched this campaign, is to raise awareness and to let your voice be heard about that we need that hospital and we need those services. So we are asking the residents across all of Durham to share their voice. We have launched a campaign. You can look at that QR code there and share your story, or you can go to whitby.ca/new hospital. And there's a number of ways you can get engaged. There's a really simple way on the website that you can submit a letter of support indicating that you agree that this hospital is needed, or you can also have an opportunity to share your story. It might be a personal story of your experience of why this is important. And the other thing I want to flag is that this will be a trauma center as well, and it will provide a gap in services that doesn't currently exist in the Durham region. So it will provide more service, higher level of service. And right now, when individuals need to be flown to either Toronto or Kingston for that trauma care, this will provide those services right in Durham region. So these are the reasons that we feel this campaign is really important. We want to have your voice be heard. And we are really hoping that that capital planning grant will be in the provincial budget that's coming up, and that land disposition will take place so that we can move forward with the important next steps to secure the hospital. The last slide just has my name and information. If you have any questions, we are happy to answer them later, or you're always free to reach out to me, but we do encourage you to go to whitby.ca/new hospital. Thank you very much for the time this evening.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And I just want to thank you for the time that you have committed to our task force as well too. And just to give identification that Sarah is our chair of the committee for the task force and has put many years into this. And hopefully we have some feedback sooner than later. Now it's my privilege to introduce our new chief of police, Chief Moreira. He joined us just under a year ago, and glad to have you on this call, and thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to my fellow Whitby residents. I just want to start off by giving a very quick overview of who the DRPS is. We're a regional police service encompassing 8 municipalities. We were formed in 1974, so quick math, we are 50 years old this year, which is great. And we're funded through the regional tax base, but we are actually governed by the Durham Regional Police Services Board. This provision can be found in the current Police Services Act, and as of April 1st, there's going to be a new act, the Community Safety and Policing Act, that is the first change in well over 35 years to police governance in this province. And the provisions for who governs us will remain the same. We have divisional centers, east, which is parts of, which is all of Clarington and parts of North Oshawa, Central East Oshawa, Central East, which is Oshawa, Central West, which is where we are here in Whitby, but it also covers parts of North Oshawa, and a North Division, which covers all of the North Durham, so everything north of Whitby and Brooklyn up to our border, and West Division, which covers Pickering and Ajax. All of these municipalities are growing at a dramatic rate, and obviously with that growth comes different needs that are both complex and time-consuming for police services to respond to. The next slide, please. I just want to give everybody here a very quick overview of how we use data and analytics to help us determine everything from how we assign patrols to the placement of CCTV cameras to traffic enforcement, for instance. Residents can access a public-facing service and crime dashboard on our website, and you can see our regional municipal data on service calls there, as well as things like violent crime, property crime, and collisions. And all of them are represented with a heat map that you can see the highest concentrations in which part of the municipality they're occurring. And this is true not just here in Whitby, but right across the region. The map of Whitby will show 2022 data, 23 and 24. The percentages are in red if it's going up, and green if it's trending down. And all of those statistics there help drive how we deploy, how we resource, and where we place our specialized services in order to tackle some of these complex issues. I'll just note very, very quickly on this slide here, our break-in enters, residential and commercial, are both rising up. Our robberies are coming down, And as well, you can see that our theft of vehicles is remaining relatively the same, although we did see a spike in recent years. And in terms of all the municipalities, Whitby fares much better than, say, Pickering in terms of theft of vehicles. So there's this helps drive our strategies in terms of how to tackle some of these issues. The next slide, please. So community safety is a partnership, and it's imperative that we work together. Our 911 communications is always where to go when it comes to an emergency, but we also have our online reporting for those non-emergency crimes, including driving complaints and community concerns. And I encourage everyone to go to our website. Not only will you see information there about our 50th anniversary events, for instance, that we have. There's a little bit of a microsite there where some history of the police service, but you can also see how you can report crimes and some of the other programs we offer. Things that if you are able to provide us with the information on, say, vulnerable people registry, somebody, for instance, who has Alzheimer's in your family, we're able to have information ready to go to the very first officer instead of taking what is precious minutes to collect that information, and we can often produce better results. So it's a cooperative, and I encourage everybody to go to our website and have a look. The next slide, please. And we want to make sure that we are connected and remain connected with our communities and our residents. So here's a number of places where you can go and access information about us. Everything from our corporate website to our Facebook to Twitter, or what they call X now, Instagram. And all of these have divisional sites as well. So Inspector Locke, who is my colleague who joins me on the call here, she is the unit commander of the Whitby station, or Central West. And she has officers that have these sites and are providing information to all of our residents. And I encourage you to follow all of them on the happenings in the Whitby area and the things that our officers are engaged in, or very important and often timely information so that our residents can avoid dangers or areas of congestion or where we're investigating. Or more importantly, we solicit a lot of help there. We want people to look at our bulletins and our information that we're posting and help us solve some crimes. And with that, I've tried to encapsulate what we do in 4 slides, Your Worship. I turn it back to you.
Well, appreciate it very much. And thank you for your time to be here with me tonight, and to Inspector Locke as well too, who just started as our inspector in Whitby, as past inspector has retired. And I look forward to this year working with you, Inspector Locke. So Chief, I do have one question for you, and if you could just kind of give highlight to community safety well-being plan. Can you help for the residents to understand what this plan is and how you're a part of it and how you see it throughout our community?
Yep, I was trying to find the mute button there. Absolutely. So the community safety well-being plan is a requirement for every municipality that has a police service, and Durham Region is no exception. Within the Police Services Act, it requires a whole of region approach to community safety and well-being. This is to align regional assets of all of our municipalities that produces better outcomes for our community, that reduces not only the demand for the police, but addresses some areas that often tie us up with a great deal of demand. Many of the things that tie us up the most are not at its core policing functions, things like check on the well-being and such. So through that community safety well-being plan, our region adopted a number of principles. First, to identify and prioritize risk factors for our community, identify program strategies and bodies. So this is about partnerships to address those risk factors, to produce measurable outcomes, to track our effectiveness, and to implement short and long-term plans. And so what we've brought together is a number of stakeholders, both non-governmental and of course governmental agencies together, and we've strategized on a number of different issues, and we have begun to deal with things to address things like mental health, homelessness, and addiction as being some of the things that we're dealing with, things that continue to draw police resources away, which at its core are not public safety issues, but manifests itself if left unaddressed. So I am one of I'm a co-chair along with the regional CAO, and we chair a very dedicated group of people. And in my 11 months here, I see great opportunity for this plan to continue to meet the needs and challenges for our region. And sorry, for our municipality here in Whitby as well.
Mute. Thank you very much for that. And I do have a couple of questions from residents, and I'm going to go first to the one, this is about speed cameras, and then the next one will be about litter. Can you put speed cameras in front of every elementary and high school? The one at All Saints and Donalday Wilson works so well. It's gone, but I'm so trained to drive 60 or under after being afraid of getting a ticket for months. But it works, and the road safety around schools is so important. And I know this is a crossover between regional government and what we're able to do, but I don't know, Chief, if you want to speak to it first, and then I can get some input as well.
I've learned something long ago, and that is to only speak after you've spoken. I will go first. This does qualify in terms of one of the areas in which cameras can go. Obviously, these cameras are not run or directed by the police, and the region are the ones that decide where they go with some very strict criteria. We're supportive of using any technology that slows people down. Speed is the #1 contributing factor to death and injury on our roadways, followed very, very closely by impaired driving. Both are preventable and things that we must take a very strong stance against. And I'll turn it over to you.
I appreciate that very much. And I'm moderating, so I get to control the questions for tonight. But I will comment that I know that we are trying to work with the region that they're in the town of Whitby is, and to look at, especially in zones around schools. And actually at the end of last year, we did have a round table, and the round table consisted of representation from Durham Regional Police, all the school boards, and also from our town staff, and the identification not only of the speed in front of our schools, but also about the traffic and the parking in front of our schools became a big part of the discussion and the moving forward. And I do look forward to how we can implement more around our school zones, because this is where we get most of our complaints, especially about traffic and concerns around what is happening there. So the next question is actually, it's about litter. And this question comes from Paul Roland. And without snow covering our town property, what is the game plan from the town to ensure our streets and areas are cleaned up? And does the budget dictate this? And thank you, Paul, for that question. And I'm going to say this is next to traffic. This is our next complaint that we are receiving right now. And you will see, especially within our downtowns right now, in the last couple of weeks, that staff have been around cleaning up. We have also identified cleanup blitzes in areas such as Water Street, Mary Street East, Victoria Street as well. We have approximately 300 garbage cans which are located in our parks, and it hasn't necessarily been a big help, as we have seen also that there is dumping that has taken place. But we are giving active attention to cleanups, especially around dead-end streets where public dumping has been taking place, cleanup around their stormwater ponds, but also even the catch basin cleaning has started earlier this year just because we have not had the snow. So the effort of looking at the cleanup around our community has become #1. In March, which is we will be hosting 18 community cleanups. There's been requests through our town anti-litter app, and if you happen to know a group of community members who may want to clean up around their area, we will give the support. And you can reach out to our operations center at operations@whitby.ca, and they will help you to facilitate that, or at whitby.ca/report as well too. And now I'm going to ask this a hospital-related question, and Sarah, if you wouldn't mind answering this, and why can't the Ministry of Transportation transfer the land now while we are waiting for the planning grant, which we hope will be in the spring budget?
Thank you. It's a great question. So currently, the property that we'd be looking for the hospital is currently owned by the Ministry of Transportation. And there's a little bit of a chicken and an egg situation. So the Ministry of Transportation has indicated they're not prepared to necessarily dispose of the land until there's confirmation that the hospital will be moving forward. And part of that indication of the hospital moving forward is the planning grant that the province would be providing to Lakeridge Health. So we have been working diligently over the last 2 years to be able to have everything in place to be able to have that land disposition take place. And really, we're just hearing from MTO that we need to wait for that planning grant to be in place before we can begin those steps regarding the land. So they are interrelated from the province's perspective.
Okay, thank you very much. And this one's from Margaret, and to the chief and possibly Inspector Locke. Is there a way for more traffic support in North Whitby location, specifically Taunton and Gerrard, where there is an increase in transport trucks plus people entering Rona and the seniors' residence? Not sure, Inspector, Chief. I do have comments about this as well too from the conversation about the trucks.
Go ahead, Inspector.
Thank you, Chief and Mayor. We are aware of the current issues throughout Whitby, including that area of concern. And we certainly have our members, including our traffic safety coordinator, out and doing enforcement, including with the large trucks in that area. So we are aware of it, and we are doing our best to make sure that we are where we need to be to do the best for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Inspector. And further, I have met with staff from the region of Durham and with our public works staff as well too, just specifically about this. Conlin has now opened up, and Conlin should be the road that these transport trucks should be traveling along from Thixton across. And I will make sure that we have this brought forward back to the owners of the large warehouses as well too. The next question is community safety, and this is actually an interesting question. It's from Anne. Can you put a GoPro on a few crossing guards in the town for a few days to get a sense of just how bad drivers are around the school zone? And I'm going to say first and foremost, our crossing guards do a phenomenal job protecting our kids as they go to school.
Okay, I'll start off. I completely concur with you, Your Worship. Our crossing guards literally save lives every single day by making sure our children are crossing the road safely, and not just our children, our parents as well that often accompany our children. The GoPro is an interesting concept. I'm not sure that the police can do that. There's a small matter of the criminal code and the charter and some of the issues around Part 6 of the criminal code that talks specifically to the police. The limitations that we have in terms of using it. Our officers are constantly collecting video. We have body-worn cameras that are used in interactions with the community. So I do have a sense, and plus our officers are out there every single day enforcing in areas. And while I understand the frustration with so many schools in our region, these officers are out there and they are every single day laying countless stunt driving charges and aggressive driving charges, and are out there working really, really hard, particularly around our schools and during school times. So I do have a good sense, and like I said, I wish I could have police officers standing at every single school and doing that very thing. Here's an interesting note, though. When we do run these campaigns in and around schools, particularly as school gets back in September, there are two groups of people that we catch more often than anyone else: people whose kids attend those schools, and teachers, which I found very interesting. And so it's the very people that are using and subjected, it like would be impacted by this, are often the people who are also contributing to the problem. So we can help this situation by encouraging our sphere of influence to slow down. And I know Anne, I'm sure, goes very slowly through the school zones, but encourage everyone that you know to travel within the speed limits, particularly around school times. Thank you.
You know of the PACE car program? Have you heard of that?
The PACE car? I know of a PACE car program. But are you the car that is traveling a little bit faster than everybody else? Is that the one you're talking about?
No, this is the one that goes slower and actually does the speed limit in school zones.
Yeah, to encourage others to go fast. Yeah, others to go faster. Yes. Yeah. I do know. I'm not sure our roadways are necessarily set up in the way. Those tend to work better when you have two lanes of traffic and people can go and pass you, and they often will. Yeah, I have heard of it. Yes.
Okay, because I know it was something that was talked about a number of years ago around in the school zones to actually have, and it would be designated to parents, and it would just to keep people going slower. But the next question is, this is from Marilyn. I wonder if the purchase of more school buses in addition of more pickup areas might relieve the buildup of automobiles parking around the schools. I live across the street from a school, and the amount of cars parking there is a real danger for kids and parents trying to drop off their children to attend school. I can answer this because we actually just dealt with this a little bit just this past Monday night at Town Council. And for a number of the areas that are around school zones, there is either a no parking sign or no drop off or no stopping signs. And we will be starting up a new program where there will be ticketing. Ticketing has taken place, but this will be automatic ticketing, which will be very similar to what our speed cameras are along our streets that we'll be capturing. And it will actually be a picture taken of the plate, of the license plate, and a ticket will be sent to that owner of that vehicle. So the interaction will just be of a picture of the vehicle, and that will be sent to them as a charge. And so we just passed that at Whitby Council this past Monday night. As for the discussion about purchasing of more buses, and that I know from my past of being with the school board that for school boards in the purchasing of busing, that they receive their funding from the provincial government, and there's set distances for how far with students at high school level and at elementary level as to where a bus or how a student will be transported by a bus. In many cases, and I'm sure that the chief and the inspector can relate to this and to validate it, is that many of the individuals and many of the parents that are driving their kids to school may probably live a block to 2 blocks away from that school and are dropping their children off. And I see shaking of heads with validation. And we would love to have a perfect remedy around this, but we are giving a concentrated effort, especially at the town level, in conjunction with the school boards. In our last roundtable, we hope to have another roundtable where we are discussing with all partners around the table, from the school board to DRPS to the region and the town of Whitby, to talk about our next steps as well too. We have a question from Kevin. And loud muffler noises from cars that have been modified. Is there something that can be done to end the disruption to our neighborhood? And I know that we last summer in particular, and even during COVID, that there was a substantial increase. And I'm sure now that the weather is nice, we're going to see more of that for our community. And I don't know, Chief or Inspector, what your feedback is on that.
I can take this one, Mayor. Thank you so much. So if we are looking at the tickets that we have laid with regards to no mufflers, we're about the same year to date, but we were up 74 tickets last year. Our members are aware of the issues and the noise problems that our community members are facing. And so they're very aware and alive to that issue. And when they do come across it, they certainly stop the vehicle and make sure that perhaps a ticket is laid or a caution is given to that person. So we are alive to it. We are everywhere we can be, but we do have an increased volume of calls for service. And so sometimes we're at more other types of investigations versus just a driving complaint of sorts, but we are aware and we are doing everything we can to deal with this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next question that I have over here is speeding through our community. And we hear a lot of this where residents are wondering, how do we get a police officer or a police vehicle present to monitor and to we hear about it down at our waterfront. We hear a lot about it through some of our communities where there's bypassing away from where the roads are congested. What are some suggestions of how to reach to the Durham Regional Police?
Thank you, Chief. I can take this one as well. So we do have a dedicated member who's our traffic safety coordinator. So if a member of the community has a specific complaint about an area, we encourage them to either go online and make that driving complaint, or they can actually call our station and leave a message with the traffic safety coordinator and explain where and what time of day. And we will do our best, our very best, to ensure that officers do go there and do proactive police activities for those complaints.
Okay, can I add one thing, Your Worship, to that?
Okay.
So one of those things online on my slide was Road Watch. And I know I've spoken to a number of people around the region, not the least of which is my wife that keeps reminding me about Road Watch. This is an effective way to help us track. So if you think about how we use data, the collection of that information helps us put officers in the right places at the right times based on a demonstrated need, and the community reporting any crime to us or disorder issue like noisy mufflers helps us better guide the finite number of officers that we have to address some of these quality of life issues. And I encourage people to explore our website and explore that portion of our website to better inform themselves of how they can report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This one comes from Christy. How can we protect our cars from being stolen from our driveways? I have a remote starter for my car, and I was told by a neighbor that car theft can more quickly steal cars. A car theft can more quickly steal cars that are running with the remote, even when the doors are locked. Is that true?
So maybe I'll start here. So we discourage starting your car without you in it. I get it. It's convenient, and they offer the service. All of our fobs now are ones and zeros. They're flying through the air, and they're constantly connecting and sending information back and forth from the vehicle. Now, crooks are very, very skilled at this, and technology has allowed them to intercept those and be able to start cars and take over cars in that way. This is an organized crime problem, and we are working in a number of different fronts, including with our provincial carjacking team, which we are a member, founding member of, and we continue to work and address the criminal element that is intent in causing this to be a national issue. Just last week, I had here visiting us our the Attorney General of Canada, Mr. Virani, and he was here, and we spoke probably for 45 minutes on this topic alone about strategies and ways that we could combat this. I can tell you that the government, all levels of government are committed to it, through the federal government and changing some laws and some things around car manufacturing and things that car manufacturers must be put in, to the provincial carjacking team putting in or being created through funding from the provincial government. All of this is helping us address this on many fronts. And if you can park your car inside a garage, very effective. Don't leave your keys right by your door. Put them, on your kitchen table, and maybe that's the place that you have them every day, so you don't lose them. Be very, very careful starting your car, and doing that beep there through the parking lot, because those things all encourage the collection of information. So there's a number of different strategies in this. Technology makes our life more convenient. It also opens up opportunities for the criminal element to exploit the good nature of people. Thank you, Your Worship.
The boxes that you can get to put your fobs into, are they reliable?
Yeah, the Faraday boxes are very reliable, but today, because some cars have these computers that are never shut off in the cars, they don't actually need your keys for some high-end vehicles. I don't own a high-end vehicle, so I wouldn't know this, but many people who do are reporting that their keys were well hidden, well away from doors and windows. And we can often see through surveillance video that it's really with a simple laptop you can break in a number of different cars. So there's a number of different strategies employed given the target that they're going after, but those boxes are yet another thing you can do. And they're not always boxes. Sometimes they're just like a really soft bag that you can put it in, but it's protected and lined.
Okay. And just as we're talking about with car theft, this isn't about the theft of the car, but it's the breaking into the cars. And we've been receiving a lot of, even on Facebook as well too, but a lot of comments where cars are being broken into and the theft of belongings from the cars, and that, who is this? Some people are perceiving it's the homeless of our community. Do you have any comments about what's happening with the theft through the break-ins through our community right now?
I can start. Inspector Locke may want to join. First, just to finish my thought on car thefts, we have tons of information on our website in terms of how to protect yourself. So I encourage people to go to our website and read a little bit more about what I was talking about. In terms of theft from autos, this is a crime of opportunity. People are simply walking down the street at 2 a.m, just trying car doors and finding one that's open. If you leave valuables visible, including your little pocket of change for Tim's in the morning, you're making yourself a target. And I discourage people from leaving anything out that looks like it's valuable in any way. You're inviting that to happen. And when we are making arrests, they're often very young people who are involved in this, and obviously it impacts our quality of life. Last thing we want to see is things like windows smashed and such. But there's more strategies on our website there that I would encourage people to go read and to see how to best protect yourself. Inspector Locke and her team are available to provide specific information if there's, say, a group of neighbors that have experienced this, to better protect themselves. But oftentimes there's quite a bit that we can do to discourage this from happening, including things like lighting around your car at night. And I know people want to turn off their lights, but lighting is proven to be a deterrent for any crime to be committed, and theft from auto is no different.
Yes, Mayor, if I can just put something else out there, is just a reminder that on our website, you can register your home security. We can't tap into it, but if there's crimes in your neighborhood and you've got your camera registered, then that can really help solve about who's doing these car break-ins or other crime in the neighborhood. So it's really important. It doesn't take very long, and you can register your address and your camera. Thank you.
Can you also comment about reporting reporting activity and where to report to make sure that I know that sometimes like we've seen thefts that have taken place and people have posted it on Facebook but they haven't called the police.
Yeah, I think this comes back to that you can report those types of activities online. It doesn't take very long. And we are reviewing each and every one of those to see if they line up with other things that we've been made alerted to in certain areas. So it's very important to report everything because we just don't know sometimes how we're going to connect those dots. So it's important. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And I'm just going to remind residents that it's drps.ca. So it's drps.ca to find the information for reporting and also to register your cameras as well too. The question next is from Margaret. And with the community growing quickly, is there room in the budget to hire more police officers and add more persons in both the fire department as well as EMS to accommodate the growth?
I think a budget question. Maybe I could just speak to the Durham Regional Police Service here, and I know my colleagues are facing the exact same pressures in both fire and our paramedic services. A growing region has growing needs. The complexity of crime and disorder today, and coming out of a pandemic and what it's done to the most vulnerable in our society is still something that we are grappling with as a caring community. And we continue to look at what is the best way to address these issues. It's not just about adding more cops and firefighters and paramedics, although we do need to add all of those things. That's where the community safety well-being plan comes in, addressing to have the right people, the right regional service, that we're all taxpayers, right? There's a limited number of funds there to have the right services attend. And one of the things I keep encouraging our members to think about is it's not who leads, but who leads when, particularly as we consider that the needs are often not something that a firefighter will help with, or a paramedic or a cop, to address the root causes that puts people into those areas. So I'm extremely supportive of the way the region is positioning this and moving towards sort of a whole of region service. And look at these issues, but I'm not the person voting. I'm the person asking for money. And I'll leave it to Mayor Roy to talk about the other side of that coin.
Chief, can you talk about with the, and I know you gave a little bit of an overview for the crimes that are taking place, but the crimes that are now taking place are requiring more of attention from the police. It's not just your petty crime. It is, we have more crimes that are happening that takes away, like such as the homicides. It's the resources that are happening that needs to be identified as well.
Absolutely, Mayor. The complexity of crime, particularly as we think of Durham Region as being a safe region, and it is. It's an extremely safe region, and I'm very, very proud to live here and have raised my family here. But the reality is, we are not immune from the serious crimes that are happening. Our internet child exploitation unit, for instance, is dealing with victimization from perpetrators from around the world and committing crimes against our children, like people in our community. So this is how the world has come to our doorstep, and we are part of what we're facing. And there's only a few members in that, a very small group of people, and we're trying to grow that out. And when we talk about some of the traffic issues that we're facing, and people say, well, I want boots on the ground, I want officers out there, and that's important. But equally important is also saving children from these crimes that are being committed. Things like homicide investigations with changes to laws and case law have further put more and more requirements. Things like missing people. We just went through Justice Epstein's review of missing and missed men in Toronto's village, and that had 151 recommendations. That's not a Toronto thing. That is a policing thing in this province. And we've had to adhere to it and make significant changes, which adds, more time. And even if we only add 2 more minutes to a call, but I do that 10,000 times a year. How many full-time equivalents is that? How many cops do I need to add just to do one change? And we've added 151. So as policing continues to evolve, as case law continues to impact how we do our business, we're going to learn more and more and more about how many officers we need to do our core function. And then we have the rise in population on top of that. So that's where we are right now as a region. And I'm very, very proud of the small but mighty team we have here at the Durham Regional Police.
And I do want to give comments just around the human trafficking component and the work that is being done, and the collective work of what is being done across the region, but across the province of Ontario and internationally as well. I know that Durham has been a lead in a lot of the investigations and the building up of that, the attention of human trafficking, especially across our 400 series throughout our community. Inspector, I've done 2 ride-alongs, and I know that the attention to human trafficking, especially within our community, can you just give a little bit of highlight as to how much attention each day is given by our officers on the road to look at what is happening throughout our community?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So part of our Central West Strategic Operational Plan includes this element of human trafficking, specifically with regards to our hotels, which are mainly at the 401 in Whitby. So our officers are attending there, not just for calls for service, but proactively seeking for signs of human trafficking. We have built amazing relationships with the hotels, and they are calling us as well if they have any suspicions. So we have stopped cars, we have investigated, we have made sure that these young people that are being trafficked are brought to safety. And we have an amazing regional unit that takes care of these investigations. And they consult with our frontline members. They come in and assist when we need them. And it's a very big topic, and it's something that we focus in on every chance we can. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Inspector. And I'm just going to elaborate a little bit more. Chief, do you have something?
I just wanted to add this. This is a great example of the complexity, because many of these young people don't see themselves as victims. These are people who have these unmet core needs and see for the first time in their lives somebody cares about them. And this is how love is displayed. And so we have to work really, really hard. And often it's not a one and done scenario where we are intervening in these young people's lives time and again. We're bringing along and partnering with our victim services. There's another service we deliver of things. We work very, very closely. And you almost have to give them permission to question what they actually have and how they view their situation. And then remarkable things happen. And we couldn't do this without our very dedicated Durham Victim Services, which I want to give a huge shout out to. They're an incredible group of people, and they work with us in partnership. And that adds to the complexity and why things are taking longer and longer and longer to actually resolve when we're facing and trying to tackle some of these very serious issues. Thank you.
No, and I can appreciate it, Chief. This past year through the Mayor's Development Community Fund, we actually have funded victim services in the education program down at the Safety Village to ensure that the youth of our community have an understanding what this looks like. I'll share personally that I have had a family member who has been through human trafficking, and it took us 2 years to get her out, but she is well, and it's very close to home, this topic as well. I will further for Margaret just identify that at the town of Whitby, we also have recognized the need for more firefighters, and have made that commitment into the 2025 year that we will be recruiting and training another 20 that will be servicing our West Whitby community and Northwest Whitby as well too. And at the region of Durham, through the emergency services, our paramedics, it's been quite some time since we've seen an increase to the number of paramedics, but there's also been a commitment last budget and into this budget through the paramedic strategic plan to have more paramedics brought on as well too. So it's very clear and evident, not only by what the chief has identified, all of our emergency services, we have been, I would say, falling behind in the amount of supports that are needed, because the amount of work that is being done, it's just not the same today as it was like 5-10 years ago. There's more work that is being done. I am going to go to the questions from Shirley, and Shirley has asked about a parking question. It's about parking in front of her home in front of the fire hydrant, and that she keeps calling to our bylaw departments, but they don't respond to the day after, and then it's too late. And recent instance was yesterday, and can I call the police as well as the town of Whitby bylaw?
It's a bylaw issue, and we wouldn't be attending for that. That's self-correcting. If there was an emergency, the fire department would punish that kind of behavior, but it does draw seconds away from their response and endangers everybody. And I would encourage you to keep reporting it to bylaw, and when they have enough complaints, they can also drive their deployment. They have limited resources as well.
Yeah, and Shirley, I think we can take this away from this office and have a direct conversation with our bylaw department. And I'm sure that there is a license plate attached to this vehicle that we can follow up with you on this as well too. So Shirley, if you could reach out to the office at mayor@whitby.ca, and happy to work with you through this. We now have a question, and it is from Mandy J. And it would be great to have a more clear understanding when to call 911 and when to use the non-emergency number. Chief, Inspector.
Okay, I can start, and the inspector will add in anything she thinks I might have missed. So think of calling 911 as a life-threatening emergency or a serious crime in progress. If you were to think of, for instance, a shooting, a sound of gunshots, that endangers life, call 911 immediately and report what you've heard or what you've seen. A break and enter in progress would be a call where you see somebody inside the house or getting into a house, or those are all very serious crimes in progress, and left unresponded to, it could pose a big danger. But if you were to get home and found out that your house had been broken into and it doesn't appear that anybody's inside that house, that's not something you would necessarily call 911. You would call the non-emergency number, and somebody would dispatch you're calling the exact same place. It's the priority. It's the priority that's assigned to the line that's coming in, and this is important because we do have serious things happening in our region all the time, and that's the number you would call. Anything that requires can have a planned response. For instance, you want to talk to an officer about some of the issues that we heard here today about issues on a street, or some suspicious behavior you may see. You can contact the station and see if there's somebody available from the community response unit there to speak to you, or call the non-emergency line and they'll assign a car to attend at some point. But these things often are prioritized, not often, they always are prioritized, and our response is based on a priority sequence. And sometimes there's something so specialized that we have to have a particular officer, one or two officers actually are the ones that pick that up. So it may take a little bit longer, but I think most of it is pretty straightforward. And by and large, we don't experience the issues with 911 misuse that many other regions face.
Okay, and thank you for that. Next question is from Rob Lee. Worried that today's increase in crime is youth related. What can be done to curb this? Chief or Inspector?
Okay, I'll start, but Inspector Law can't jump in here anymore. So we continue to see crime increase right across all demographics. One of the largest growing segments is actually women are committing crimes or being caught for crimes committed more frequently. And the root causes of crime vary from person to person. There are no groups that are monoliths who are all face the exact or think the same way or approach things the same way. And so crime is very, very similar. But we do know that there are things that are indicators, things like, living at or below the poverty line is one of those areas that can sometimes be a reoccurring theme within some of the patterns that we're seeing. Kids not attending school is another one. And many of these things don't manifest itself in crime right off the bat. There are many, many indicators and many opportunities to intervene. And that's what I really like about the Community Safety Wellbeing Plan, is that we are identifying those risk factors, like I spoke about, those goals that we have, and are putting the right resources in place and supporting all of our partner agencies, including the school boards, to help us identify those who are trending in the wrong direction and providing them with some supports they need to prevent them from getting involved in the first place. So it's a complex question and a good one, but it's complex, and the answers are even more complex because then you add the individuality of people within our communities. And so, Inspector Locke, if there's anything you want to add to that.
I just wanted to add, Chief, that we also have events and things sponsored by Pro Action Cops for Kids, in which we as officers work with young children or young people that are at risk, and we show them that we're people, that we support them, that we want them to be successful, and we do different programs throughout the year, including sports events and other things that really help the at-risk youth. So it's not just about making the arrest, it's also about preventing as well.
And I like that. I completely forgot. One of the biggest programs we have, actually, we're probably leaders in Ontario, and that's our Youth and Policing Initiative, in which we've been hiring over 100 young people from our communities. Those, we interview that can use the job the most, and we expose them to a number of different topics and a number of different things, and they get to see firsthand and forge new relationships with us. I've been so impressed since I've been here with the program and how it's connected young people to our officers. And I encourage people to go on our website and learn a little bit more about our Youth and Policing program.
The program is a fantastic program, and just this past week at our youth awards, 4 or 5 of the youth that were recognized were from our Youth and Policing program, and very, very impressed by the youth that are involved in it. My daughter, who's 29, had the great opportunity to be a YIP, and but she still has the friendships to this day from the youth that she met back then. We are down to the last 2 minutes, and I do want to do 2 things. I will get an answer for Paul's question. It has to do with graffiti, and I know that as you drive across Dundas Street in particular, but throughout our community, that we have seen an increased presence of tagging and graffiti throughout. And I will say that the moment that if there's any offensive graffiti that has been identified to the town of Whitby, our staff are out there immediately. It is removed the same day. We are actually moving forward with in February, March, to have a townwide audit of all the graffiti and submitting to all the relevant third parties such as Bell, Rogers, CP Rail, in the region of Durham, Ministry of Transportation, whoever the graffiti is presence on their property, to have the graffiti removed. So there's a huge effort that's going to take place in the next couple of months, and very pleased by the efforts of the town staff that have taken this initiative and moving it forward to help clean that up as well too. And if you happen to know of any graffiti that is through the community or see new sightings of graffiti, you can also contact to operations@whitby.ca, or you can even reach out to our or my office here at mayor@whitby.ca. I'm going to close with just talking about the hospital again in our campaign, and just encourage residents who are watching to visit the website, whitby.ca/new hospital. You can sign the call to action letter or share a personal story, but also be updated as to what is happening with the hospital campaign. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Chief Inspector, to Sarah Klein, and to my staff in the office here who have helped to make this opportunity present tonight in a new form of communication that has not taken place. And we are right at 8 o'clock, and I'm going to say good night.